The environment remains unchanged. No indication of transition appears. The state continues as it was, uninterrupted and stable. Nothing suggests a beginning or a shift. The condition persists without adjustment or response. No element within the space alters its position. Surfaces remain fixed, maintaining the same relationships as before. There is no movement, no alignment, no deviation. The structure holds steady, unaffected by duration or attention. The air continues in equilibrium. It does not circulate or settle. It does not convey temperature or motion. It exists without interaction, supporting the environment without influencing it. Its presence remains neutral and constant. Light persists without variation. It does not brighten or dim. It does not shape or reveal. Illumination remains uniform, allowing the environment to remain visible without emphasis or contrast. Sound, if present, continues without change. It does not rise or fade. It does not suggest activity or rest. It remains a consistent layer within the space, neither approaching nor receding. The environment does not respond to awareness. It does not acknowledge observation or absence. It remains fixed, unaffected by attention or duration. No element becomes more defined through time. No surface gains clarity or loses detail. The environment does not reveal additional structure. It remains uniform and unchanged. The space does not imply motion or stillness. Both remain indistinguishable. There is no direction or flow. The condition remains balanced, without progression. The air maintains its neutrality. It does not move or compress. It does not convey sensation. It remains present without interaction. Light continues without alteration. It does not introduce contrast or depth. It does not guide perception. It remains consistent, sustaining the visual field without variation. Sound remains constant, if present. It does not intensify or diminish. It does not form rhythm or pattern. It remains integrated into the environment without emphasis. The environment does not react to time. It does not change with duration. It does not accumulate or dissipate. It holds its state without variation. No boundary becomes more distinct. No separation forms. The space remains unified, without division or focus. The condition persists. Nothing shifts or transforms. The environment maintains its state, steady and unaltered. The space continues without direction or purpose. It does not move toward an end or beginning. It remains suspended in the same condition. The environment remains as it is. Nothing changes. Nothing resolves. The state continues, consistent and uninterrupted. The environment maintains its condition without deviation. No aspect of the space shifts or responds. The arrangement remains stable, unchanged by time or attention. Nothing indicates progression or alteration. There is no redistribution of elements. Surfaces remain fixed, unaffected by duration or observation. They do not advance or recede. Their relationships remain constant, preserving the same spatial balance. The air continues in a neutral state. It does not circulate or condense. It does not transmit sensation or pressure. It exists as a steady presence, supporting the environment without influence. Light remains uniform. It does not intensify or diminish. It does not introduce contrast or depth. Illumination persists evenly, allowing the space to remain visible without emphasis. Sound, if present, continues without variation. It does not rise or fall. It does not create rhythm or signal change. It remains integrated into the environment, steady and unobtrusive. The environment does not respond to duration. It does not alter with continued presence. There is no interaction between observation and structure. The state remains fixed and unchanged. No element gains definition or fades. The environment does not reveal complexity or conceal detail. It remains uniform, without hierarchy or distinction. The space does not suggest movement or stillness. Both exist without differentiation. There is no indication of direction or pause. The condition persists without variation. The air remains unchanged. It does not shift or react. It does not convey sensation. It remains neutral and constant. Light continues without modification. It does not shape or highlight. It does not guide attention. It remains steady and consistent. Sound remains constant, if present. It does not intensify or diminish. It does not signal activity. It remains a stable presence within the environment. The environment does not acknowledge time. It does not register sequence or duration. It remains in the same state, uninterrupted. Nothing within the space changes. Nothing emerges or dissolves. The condition remains continuous, stable, and complete. The environment continues without deviation. No transition marks the passage from one state to another. The space remains fixed, unchanged by duration or observation. Nothing within it signals movement, adjustment, or response. The condition persists exactly as it is. There is no redistribution of form. Surfaces remain in their established positions, neither advancing nor retreating. Their relationships remain stable, unaffected by the passage of time. No alignment shifts. No element asserts presence over another. The air remains evenly balanced. It does not circulate or compress. It does not carry warmth or coolness. It exists without sensation, sustaining the environment without influence. Its presence is constant and unremarkable. Light continues without variation. It does not brighten or dim. It does not reveal or obscure. Illumination remains even, allowing the space to remain visible without emphasis or contrast. Nothing within the environment draws focus. Sound, if present, remains unchanged. It does not fluctuate or repeat. It does not create rhythm or signal activity. It exists as a continuous layer, integrated into the environment without distinction. The environment does not react to the continuation of time. It does not adjust or recalibrate. No interaction occurs between awareness and structure. The state remains fixed, unaltered by duration. No element becomes more distinct through repetition. No detail sharpens or fades. The environment does not reveal new structure or lose coherence. It remains uniform and balanced. The space does not suggest movement or stillness. Both conditions exist without contrast. There is no directional pull or sense of progression. The environment maintains its equilibrium without variation. The air remains unchanged. It does not carry movement or pressure. It does not introduce sensation or variation. It remains neutral, supporting the environment without influencing it. Light continues without modification. It does not cast depth or shadow. It does not create focal points. Illumination remains constant, preserving the uniformity of the space. Sound, if present, remains steady. It does not intensify or diminish. It does not indicate change or continuity. It exists as a constant element, integrated without emphasis. The environment does not acknowledge time. It does not progress or regress. It does not accumulate or dissolve. It remains suspended in a continuous state. No boundary becomes more apparent. No separation emerges. The space remains unified, without distinction or division. The condition does not evolve. It does not resolve or transform. It remains fixed, unchanged by presence or duration. The environment continues without alteration. Nothing shifts. Nothing concludes. The state persists, stable and uninterrupted. The space remains as it is. It does not respond or adapt. It holds its form without movement or change. The environment continues, consistent and complete, maintaining its condition without interruption or conclusion. The environment continues in the same condition. No alteration presents itself. The space remains unchanged, maintaining its arrangement without adjustment or reaction. Nothing within it signals transition or progression. The state persists, stable and uninterrupted. No element shifts position. No surface advances or recedes. The relationships between forms remain constant, unaffected by time or attention. The environment does not reorganize or respond. It holds its structure without deviation. The air remains steady and neutral. It does not circulate or compress. It does not convey temperature or motion. It exists without sensation, supporting the space without influence. Nothing in the air suggests movement or change. Light continues without variation. It does not brighten or dim. It does not create contrast or depth. Illumination remains even, allowing the environment to remain visible without emphasis or hierarchy. Sound, if present, continues without fluctuation. It does not rise or fall. It does not establish rhythm or indicate activity. It remains integrated into the environment as a constant layer. The environment does not respond to prolonged presence. It does not adapt or recalibrate. There is no exchange between awareness and structure. The state remains unchanged, unaffected by observation. No detail becomes more pronounced through time. No surface reveals additional structure. The environment does not disclose layers or complexity. It remains uniform, offering no variation. The space does not imply motion or stillness. Both exist without distinction. There is no direction, no momentum, no pause. The condition remains steady and balanced. The air continues without variation. It does not shift or settle. It does not signal temperature or movement. It remains neutral and unobtrusive. Light remains constant. It does not shape or emphasize. It does not guide attention or suggest depth. Illumination persists without alteration. Sound remains unchanged. It does not fluctuate or indicate rhythm. It does not mark time or activity. It remains steady and indistinct. The environment does not respond to time. It does not evolve or decay. It does not reflect passage or progression. It remains in the same state, unaltered. No element becomes more prominent. No detail fades or sharpens. The environment does not prioritize or differentiate. It remains balanced and uniform. The space does not signal conclusion or transition. It does not move toward resolution. It remains continuous, without end point or beginning. The condition holds. Nothing changes. Nothing emerges. Nothing withdraws. The environment persists, steady and uninterrupted. The environment continues as it is. It does not adjust or transform. It remains stable, consistent, and unchanged. The state remains intact. No shift occurs. No variation appears. The space continues in the same configuration, without interruption or deviation. The environment remains in its established condition. No alteration emerges as time extends. The space holds its form without deviation, unaffected by duration or awareness. Nothing within it indicates progression or change. The state persists without interruption. There is no movement within the structure. Surfaces remain fixed, unchanged in position or relation. They do not respond to observation or presence. The arrangement remains constant, unaffected by duration or repetition. The air maintains its neutral balance. It does not circulate or compress. It does not convey warmth or pressure. It exists as a steady medium, supporting the environment without introducing sensation or variation. Light continues without variation. It does not intensify or fade. It does not produce contrast or depth. Illumination remains uniform, maintaining visibility without emphasis or focus. Sound, if present, remains steady. It does not shift or develop. It does not form rhythm or indicate movement. It persists as a constant layer, integrated into the environment without distinction. The environment does not react to continued awareness. It does not adapt or recalibrate. No interaction occurs between perception and structure. The state remains unchanged, stable and consistent. No element becomes more defined through duration. No detail sharpens or dissolves. The environment does not reveal complexity or concealment. It remains uniform and continuous. The space does not suggest motion or stillness. Both conditions exist without distinction. There is no orientation, no direction, no sense of progression. The environment holds its equilibrium without fluctuation. The air remains unchanged. It does not carry sensation or movement. It does not influence the environment or respond to it. It remains neutral and constant. Light remains steady. It does not alter perception or create contrast. It does not emphasize form or shape. It continues evenly, maintaining the same visual field. Sound remains constant, if present. It does not rise or fall. It does not indicate activity or rest. It remains a stable element within the environment. The environment does not register the passage of time. It does not evolve or decay. It remains fixed, without transition or transformation. Nothing within the space becomes more pronounced. No element emerges or recedes. The environment maintains uniformity and balance. The condition does not change. It does not move toward conclusion or renewal. It persists in the same state, uninterrupted and stable. The space remains unchanged. It does not react or adapt. It continues as it is, consistent and unaltered. The environment sustains itself without variation. It does not fluctuate or shift. It remains exactly as it is, without progression or end. The environment continues without modification. No signal appears to indicate adjustment or transition. The space remains exactly as it has been, unchanged by duration or awareness. Nothing within it reacts or responds. The condition persists, stable and uninterrupted. There is no redistribution of elements. Surfaces do not move or reorient. Their positions remain fixed, unaffected by time or observation. The relationships between them remain constant, without alteration or drift. The environment retains its configuration without deviation. The air remains balanced and inert. It does not circulate or compress. It does not convey warmth, coolness, or motion. It exists as a steady presence, supporting the environment without influencing it. No sensation arises from it. Light continues in a uniform state. It does not brighten or dim. It does not form contrast or depth. Illumination remains even, allowing the space to exist without emphasis or direction. No shadow shifts. No highlight emerges. Sound, if present, remains unchanged. It does not fluctuate or form pattern. It does not grow or diminish. It persists as a constant layer, indistinguishable from the environment itself. The environment does not respond to prolonged awareness. It does not alter when observed or ignored. There is no feedback between perception and structure. The condition remains fixed, indifferent to presence. No element becomes more distinct over time. No surface gains clarity or definition. The environment does not reveal hidden aspects or develop complexity. It remains uniform, consistent, and stable. The space does not imply motion or stillness. Both exist without distinction. There is no directional pull, no sense of progression or pause. The condition remains evenly balanced. The air remains unchanged. It does not move or carry sensation. It does not participate in the environment beyond existing within it. It remains neutral and unobtrusive. Light remains constant. It does not cast shadows or emphasize form. It does not change in intensity or hue. The visual field remains consistent and undisturbed. Sound remains steady, if present. It does not rise or fall. It does not suggest activity or silence. It remains integrated within the environment, without variation. The environment does not acknowledge the passage of time. It does not mark duration or sequence. It remains continuous, without progression or resolution. No element gains prominence or recedes. The environment does not organize itself around focus or hierarchy. Everything remains evenly distributed. The space does not suggest transition. It does not move toward conclusion or beginning. It remains in a sustained condition, unchanged and uninterrupted. The air continues in equilibrium. It does not carry movement or sensation. It does not influence the environment. It remains a constant presence. Light persists without variation. It does not alter perception or depth. It remains even and stable. Sound continues, if present, without modulation. It does not indicate motion or time. It remains a consistent background element. The environment does not react to continued observation. It remains unaffected by attention or absence. The state persists without alteration. Nothing within the space suggests change. No element transforms or resolves. The environment remains fixed, uniform, and stable. The condition holds. No new state emerges. No transition occurs. The space continues exactly as it is, unaltered and complete. The environment remains unchanged. It does not shift or evolve. It maintains its configuration without interruption. The space persists, steady and continuous. Nothing emerges. Nothing fades. The state remains intact, without deviation or end. The environment maintains its condition without interruption. No shift occurs, no variation emerges. The space remains exactly as it has been, unchanged by duration or awareness. Nothing within it suggests alteration or transition. There is no redistribution of form. Surfaces remain fixed, holding their positions without movement or adjustment. Their relationships remain constant, unaffected by observation or time. The environment does not reorganize or respond. The air continues in a stable state. It does not circulate or compress. It does not convey temperature or sensation. It exists without interaction, supporting the environment without participating in it. Light remains uniform. It does not brighten or dim. It does not cast shadows or define contours. Illumination persists evenly, allowing the space to remain visible without emphasis or contrast. Sound, if present, remains steady. It does not intensify or fade. It does not introduce rhythm or pattern. It exists as a constant layer, inseparable from the surrounding environment. The environment does not respond to prolonged presence. It does not adapt or shift. There is no exchange between observation and structure. The condition remains fixed and unchanged. No element becomes more pronounced. No feature recedes or gains clarity. The environment does not reveal new aspects or conceal existing ones. It remains uniform and stable. The space does not suggest motion or stillness. Both remain indistinguishable. There is no direction, no sense of progression. The environment continues in a steady state. The air remains neutral. It does not move or carry sensation. It does not introduce change. It remains present without influence. Light remains unchanged. It does not define edges or depth. It does not alter perception. It continues evenly, without variation. Sound remains constant, if present. It does not rise or fall. It does not indicate activity or rest. It remains an unchanging presence. The environment does not acknowledge time. It does not accumulate or release moments. It remains fixed, unaffected by duration. Nothing within the space becomes more significant. No element emerges or fades. The environment remains balanced and uniform. The condition does not evolve. It does not approach resolution or beginning. It remains steady, unchanged by continuity. The space persists as it is. It does not transform or respond. It maintains its state without interruption. The environment remains intact. It does not alter or conclude. It continues as it has been, stable and unvarying. The condition holds. Nothing shifts. Nothing resolves. The environment remains exactly as it is, without change or end. The environment continues in its established state. No alteration emerges to suggest change or progression. The space maintains its form without adjustment, holding the same configuration without interruption or response. Nothing within it signals a shift in condition or awareness. There is no redistribution of elements. Surfaces remain where they are, unchanged in orientation or relation. They do not move closer or farther apart. Their presence remains fixed, unaffected by duration or attention. The structure retains its arrangement without variation. The air remains neutral. It does not circulate or settle. It does not carry warmth or coolness. It does not suggest movement or pressure. It exists as a constant medium, supporting the environment without interacting with it. Light continues in a stable state. It does not brighten or dim. It does not reveal or conceal. Illumination remains even and undisturbed, providing visibility without emphasis or direction. Sound, if present, remains unchanged. It does not intensify or fade. It does not form patterns or indicate activity. It remains a steady presence, integrated into the environment without distinction. The environment does not respond to observation. It does not react or adapt. There is no exchange between awareness and structure. The state remains fixed, unaffected by attention or time. No element gains clarity or prominence. No surface becomes more defined. The environment does not reveal hidden structure or depth. It remains uniform, consistent, and unchanged. The space does not imply motion or stillness. Both exist without distinction. There is no direction, no progression, no pause. The condition remains steady and uninterrupted. The air continues without variation. It does not move or compress. It does not introduce sensation or change. It remains neutral, sustaining the environment without influence. Light remains constant. It does not alter contrast or perception. It does not shape form or depth. It remains even and stable. Sound, if present, continues without fluctuation. It does not rise or fall. It does not suggest rhythm or pattern. It exists as a constant element within the environment. The environment does not respond to the passage of time. It does not age or renew. It remains fixed, unchanged by duration or awareness. No element becomes more prominent. No detail recedes. The environment remains evenly distributed, without hierarchy or focus. The condition does not evolve. It does not move toward resolution or origin. It remains continuous and uninterrupted. The space remains exactly as it is. It does not alter or shift. It holds its form without deviation or adjustment. The environment persists, stable and unchanged. It does not conclude or transform. It continues in the same state, without variation or end. The environment remains steady, unchanged by the passage of time. No indication of movement or alteration appears. The space continues to exist in the same configuration, unaffected by observation or duration. Nothing within it suggests deviation or transformation. There is no redistribution of matter or form. Surfaces remain exactly where they are, unchanged in relation to one another. They do not shift or realign. Their presence remains constant, without suggestion of movement or instability. The structure maintains its balance without effort. The air remains neutral and inactive. It does not circulate or carry sensation. It does not respond to changes in temperature or pressure. It exists as a stable element, supporting the environment without interacting with it. No motion can be detected within it. Light continues without interruption. It does not brighten or fade. It does not emphasize or conceal. Illumination remains uniform, preserving visibility without introducing contrast or variation. The visual field remains consistent and unaltered. Sound, if present, remains unchanged. It does not rise or diminish. It does not introduce rhythm or pattern. It persists as a constant presence, blending into the environment without distinction. The environment does not acknowledge the passage of time. It does not react to duration or awareness. There is no adjustment, no response, no indication that anything has progressed or receded. The condition remains fixed. No element becomes more pronounced through repetition. No surface gains clarity or loses definition. The environment does not reveal hidden layers or subtle variations. It remains uniform and stable. The space does not suggest motion or stillness. Both remain indistinguishable. There is no sense of direction, momentum, or pause. The condition persists without movement or transformation. The air remains unchanged. It does not convey sensation or motion. It does not participate in the environment beyond existing within it. It remains neutral, stable, and unresponsive. Light continues in a constant state. It does not create contrast or depth. It does not guide attention or reveal form. It remains evenly distributed, preserving the same visual condition. Sound remains steady, if present. It does not intensify or diminish. It does not signal activity or silence. It remains integrated into the environment without distinction or emphasis. The environment does not respond to continued presence. It does not adapt or evolve. It does not acknowledge observation or time. It remains fixed, unchanged, and complete. No feature becomes dominant. No detail fades into obscurity. The environment maintains a uniform presence, without hierarchy or differentiation. The condition does not progress. It does not approach an end point or return to a beginning. It remains suspended in a stable state, without direction or transformation. The space remains intact. It does not break or reorganize. It holds its form without alteration or disturbance. The environment continues without interruption. It does not signal change or resolution. It remains steady, consistent, and unaltered. Nothing within the space shifts or responds. The condition persists, unchanged by duration or attention. The environment remains as it is. It does not evolve, conclude, or transform. It continues in a state of continuity, without variation or end. The state holds. Nothing emerges. Nothing recedes. The space remains stable, uniform, and uninterrupted. The environment maintains its condition. It does not vary or resolve. It persists, unchanged, without movement or conclusion. The environment remains exactly as it is. No element shifts position or changes condition. The space maintains its structure without adjustment, unaffected by the passage of time or the presence of awareness. Nothing within it signals transition or response. There is no redistribution of form. Surfaces remain fixed, unchanged in orientation or distance. They do not approach or recede. Their arrangement persists without modification. The environment does not reorganize or react. The air remains neutral and steady. It does not move or settle. It does not transmit sensation or pressure. It exists as a constant, supporting the environment without influencing it. No variation can be detected. Light continues in an unbroken state. It does not fluctuate or shift. It does not produce contrast or highlight. Illumination remains even, maintaining visibility without emphasis or direction. Sound, if present, remains unchanged. It does not rise or fall. It does not introduce rhythm or pattern. It exists as a continuous element, integrated into the environment without distinction. The environment does not respond to observation. It does not adjust or adapt. It does not acknowledge presence or duration. The condition remains fixed, unaffected by awareness. No element becomes more pronounced through time. No surface gains clarity or fades. The environment does not reveal hidden features or alter its structure. It remains uniform and stable. The space does not imply motion or stillness. Both states remain indistinguishable. There is no sense of progression or pause. The condition persists without variation. The air remains unchanged. It does not carry motion or sensation. It does not influence the environment. It exists without interaction. Light remains consistent. It does not shift or vary. It does not shape or emphasize. It remains constant, preserving the same visual state. Sound remains steady, if present. It does not fluctuate or signal change. It remains an even layer, integrated into the environment. The environment does not react to time. It does not evolve or decay. It does not accumulate or diminish. It remains fixed and continuous. No element becomes dominant or recedes. The environment remains balanced, without hierarchy or emphasis. The condition does not resolve or transform. It does not move toward an end or beginning. It remains in a sustained state, unchanged and uninterrupted. The space remains as it is. It does not adjust or conclude. It continues without variation, holding its form without interruption. The environment persists. Nothing changes. Nothing emerges. The state remains constant, stable, and complete. The environment remains unchanged. No indication of transition or resolution appears. The space continues to exist in the same condition, unaffected by duration or awareness. Nothing within it suggests movement, response, or conclusion. The state persists without alteration. There is no shift in structure. Surfaces remain fixed in their positions, neither advancing nor retreating. Their relationships remain constant, unaltered by observation or time. The environment does not reorganize or react. It holds its form without deviation. The air continues in equilibrium. It does not circulate or compress. It does not carry sensation or signal change. It remains neutral, supporting the environment without influence or interaction. Light remains stable. It does not brighten or dim. It does not define or obscure. Illumination continues evenly, maintaining visibility without directing attention or creating contrast. Sound, if present, remains unchanged. It does not rise or fall. It does not introduce rhythm or motion. It remains a consistent element within the environment, neither emerging nor fading. The environment does not respond to awareness. It does not adjust or adapt. There is no exchange between perception and structure. The state remains fixed, unaffected by presence or absence. No element becomes more prominent. No feature recedes. The environment does not reveal layers or complexity. It remains uniform, with no variation or emphasis. The space does not suggest movement or stillness. Both exist without distinction. There is no sense of direction or progression. The condition remains balanced and static. The air remains unchanged. It does not move or convey sensation. It remains neutral, supporting the environment without participating in it. Light continues without modification. It does not shape or define. It does not guide the eye or create contrast. It remains even and consistent. Sound remains constant, if present. It does not vary or signal activity. It remains an ambient element, stable and unobtrusive. The environment does not register the passage of time. It does not accumulate or release moments. It remains suspended in a single state, uninterrupted. No element becomes dominant or fades. The environment remains evenly distributed, without hierarchy or emphasis. The condition does not evolve or resolve. It does not move toward an ending or a beginning. It remains fixed, unchanging, and complete. The space continues without alteration. It does not shift or transform. It holds its form without variation or response. The environment remains intact. Nothing emerges. Nothing concludes. The state persists, stable and continuous, without transition or end. The environment continues without interruption. No variation becomes apparent as time extends. The space remains exactly as it is, unaffected by duration or attention. Nothing within it indicates motion, change, or response. There is no alteration in structure. Surfaces remain fixed, maintaining their positions without shift or adjustment. Their relationships stay constant, unaffected by presence or observation. The environment does not reorganize or evolve. The air remains steady and neutral. It does not circulate or carry sensation. It does not respond to temperature or pressure. It remains present without influence, supporting the environment without interaction. Light persists without fluctuation. It does not brighten or dim. It does not create emphasis or contrast. Illumination remains even, preserving the same visual state without variation. Sound, if present, continues unchanged. It does not rise or fade. It does not indicate motion or stillness. It remains a constant element within the space, neither emerging nor receding. The environment does not acknowledge time. It does not mark duration or progression. It remains fixed, unaffected by continuity or repetition. No element becomes more defined. No detail emerges or dissolves. The environment does not reveal complexity or shift in form. It remains uniform and stable. The space does not suggest motion or rest. Both conditions remain indistinguishable. There is no direction or flow. The environment maintains its equilibrium. The air remains unchanged. It does not move or convey sensation. It does not interact with the space. It remains a neutral presence. Light remains constant. It does not shape or highlight. It does not alter perception. It continues evenly, without emphasis. Sound remains steady, if present. It does not indicate change or activity. It persists as a continuous layer, unvaried. The environment does not respond to observation. It does not adapt or shift. It remains in its established condition, unchanged and complete. Nothing within the space transforms. No transition occurs. The environment remains as it is, stable and uninterrupted. The state continues without alteration. No element changes or concludes. The environment persists, uniform and constant.